welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk to you today about traveling on a budget. When we went on our Europe trip, we traveled to Europe for 17 days and we didn't do it with a lot of money and expense, so we wanted to kind of give you some tips and tricks on how you can travel anywhere your heart desires on a budget. We are Tyke and Tina of Tyke and Tina's Adventures, and please like and subscribe to our channel and click the little notification so you can get notified when we have new videos. So the first thing we want to talk to you about is flights. We searched long and hard to find some good flights from our little town in Idaho, Boise, to Paris. We decided we wanted to fly into Paris. So we got the subscription called going.com, G-O-I-N-G.com, and it tells you flights that you can do. You set your subscription to whatever you want to do, wherever you want to fly to, and it gives you notifications of when there's a really good sale. So we got at least half off of our flight to go from Boise to Paris, round trip, less than $500 a person. So that's really reasonable for our area, and I'm sure it would work for you. So that is our suggestion for finding a cheap flight to where you want to go, is subscribe to going.com and save yourself some money on flights. The next thing we did is we stayed in some hotels. We stayed in some really nice hotels in Europe, and we all know how expensive that can be. So we enrolled in an IHG credit card. An IHG is the hotel chain. So we got a Chase credit card with IHG, and we got a really good sign-on bonus where you can get, it depends on the bonus. So we'll put a link in the description so you can sign up if you want or check it out. And it gives you either some free nights, like 3, 4, I think it was 4 free nights, or like 160,000 points, which translates into about the same. So you not only get that sign-on bonus, you also can buy opportunities to buy the points for half off, or buy one and get one free kind of a thing. So you always want to take advantage of that too. So you get your sign-on bonus, and then you buy the max amount of points that IHG allows you to buy in a calendar year. And usually, I think that's 300,000 points. This year, they just gave us a little surprise bonus in our email. So we were able to log on and get some more points just because they wanted to be nice for the holidays, I guess. So with those points, we were able to stay at some really nice hotels. So IHG brand is Holiday Inn Express, but it's also things like Crown Plaza, Indigo, Intercontinental. So you get up to some really nice hotels. So in Paris, France, we stayed at a Crown Plaza du Republic Paris, and it was this beautiful hotel, and we stayed with our points. So all it cost us was the amount of points that we bought for half the price. Well, buy one, get one, so it comes out about half the price. So we stayed at this hotel for $60 a night in Paris. Yeah. And it was a gorgeous hotel. We'll put a little picture in here, and we have a video of it just down in our video. So go ahead and watch that. And the thing that we love about booking hotels with points is that free cancellation up to, I think it's 24 hours, maybe 48 hours.
Really short time frame.
Yeah, so if you change your mind, or if you can watch and keep checking on those points. I've done this a few times where I booked it way in advance, and then I check the points, and maybe the points are a little cheaper on that same day. So you can just cancel the one reservation and book the second one at the cheaper price, and there's no fee, there's no charge for that. So you gotta watch and make sure the points aren't going cheaper as you get closer to your destination time. The other thing is when you check into a hotel, and we saw this with lots of people around us as we were checking in, you don't get charged any of those local taxes or fees, and some of these were like $18 a night per person. So that saves you a ton of money right there, just not having to pay those fees. So you buy with the points, you're getting the points at buy one, get one free, so half off. You get to stay in these really nice hotels for a fraction of the cost that you would have to pay a cash price for, because you're booking with those discounted IHG points. So you get all these perks just because you have this Chase IHG card. A lot of times it's a room upgrade. One hotel, they offered us free breakfast, so that's always really nice to have a perk like that as well.
Free drinks in the afternoon.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of nice perks of being part of the IHG Chase credit card and using it to book your rooms with points. Highly recommend that. We're gonna link it in the description so you can go on there and see what you think and what your sign-on bonus would be if you signed up for the credit card. Tyke's gonna talk to you about another way we like to travel and save a little money.
Well, before we started traveling overseas, which we've only done one time, but we spent a lot of time being Disney fans. So we would go to Disney World, Walt Disney World in Florida, California, and they offer something called the Disney Vacation Club. And we had looked at it a couple of times, considered it, and the more we went, the more it made sense, because the more you go, the more you save. And quite literally, if we would have bought it the first or second time we went, if we would have bought the vacation club, we would have paid for it by our third or fourth trip.
Yeah.
We've been members since 2002. Essentially, it's a timeshare is probably an easy way to think of it. Sometimes that has negative connotations, but we have not had a negative experience with Disney. Our home resort is located in Walt Disney World. It's near Epcot. It's just wonderful. You can vary the size of your room. You can get a basic hotel room size property, or you can go all the way up to a suite. Recently, we went on a trip where we had 13 people, 2 levels, washer dryer, seating for 10 at a dining table in our room.
Yeah.
It was great. We had all the room in the world, and just made the trip so easy, especially having the laundry aspect and a full kitchen. And you can just do a number of things there. We're going to cover more about that. But what we did is that Vacation Club point system is available at all their parks worldwide. So even though our home resort is in Walt Disney World in Orlando, we can go to California. We use the points in Paris. You can use them for properties that are partner properties. We've stayed in Bend, Oregon, New York City, with properties that they vet for you, and they have to meet Disney standards before they'll let them partner with their points. So it's very flexible, very convertible, and it's just a wonderful way. And so we use those points. It's a wonderful way to travel in Paris, and saved us as well. And we were there for two nights.
Yeah, we stayed in Disneyland Paris with our Disney Vacation Club points. So the only thing it cost us to use those points was, obviously we had to buy the membership 20 years ago, but we had to pay a $95 transaction fee, which this year they are waiving for some of those out of their local area transactions. But that's all it cost us to stay 2 nights at Disneyland Paris, walking distance from the parks and downtown Disney. It was one of the closest hotels that we've stayed at, and it was really nice to be. We didn't have to rent a car. We didn't have to have someone drive us or take a bus. And when we stay in Walt Disney World, we take their buses to the parks because everything is so spread out. But Disneyland Paris is so close. Everything's right there close. We just walked, and it was a lovely walk. The weather was beautiful. So yeah, that was a nice hotel, and it didn't cost us anything. So that was another way we saved some money on our trip to Europe. Let's talk about food, my favorite.
So cheap food, I guess one thing that you could consider as well is when you're booking your hotels, if you're with IHG, which again we'll talk more about that on another feed, but um, they have continental breakfast. Now, if you've never traveled overseas, as we had not, the our idea of a continental breakfast here is usually the basics, maybe some oatmeal, some eggs, sausage, perhaps, maybe some bacon, yogurt, danishes, etc.
Cereal, lots of cereal.
Yeah, lots of cereals in our experience in traveling domestically. Not so there, at least with the hotels we booked. They had their idea of a breakfast is much more extensive than ours. Fresh breads, fresh cheeses, meats, salmon even. They have some English components because of the locales. So they had baked beans, and just a number of different things that we wouldn't, we wouldn't think about here. It's just not part of our food. But they had muesli, they had fresh yogurt, a lot fresher components, and that right there, we would eat big breakfasts, kind of power up for the day, and a lot of times we would eat much lighter during the rest of the day because of that substantial breakfast. And we did a majority of our finding our food. We didn't really get too exotic, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
we didn't like have reservations for dinner or anything like that.
No, we just kind of wandered around and found what we thought looked good, and really didn't even check Google ratings or anything else. That looked good, and we tried it, and in 17 days we had one marginal meal, and the rest of that was
really good.
Yeah, really good.
And we found that if you kind of get a block, maybe 2 blocks off the main road where all of the restaurants are and dining, you can find some really inexpensive, really good little cafes and shops that maybe even a food truck here and there, things like that where you don't have to spend a lot of money on a meal.
Yeah.
So we did that a lot. We just tried to find places that were a little more reasonable, and the food was delicious.
Yeah.
We also like to, I don't know if everybody does this, but we like to do this, is share a meal. Because sometimes you get a lot more food in the meal than you can eat as one person, and so we share and get a couple different items, or we get a meal here and then we wait a little bit and get another meal. So I think that saves us some money too, is just,
it does.
We don't like to waste. So, and the food was so good, like you would keep eating it, you don't want to waste it.
One little caveat to that too is that we were in a couple of hotels that were really close to markets, and of course their idea of a grocery store or supermarket is a lot different than ours. They are not large at all, but they carry a lot of fresh foods, fresh bakery goods, and we would go there when we wanted a couple extra things in the room. Very reasonable pricing on prices of food and meals was surprisingly reasonable.
Yeah, the one little market in Utrecht in the Netherlands, we could get 4 croissants, like big size croissants,
for €1.
For $1, a euro,
For €1, about $1. Yeah.
So we did that too. We had a little, all the hotels now have a little mini fridge in them. So we would go get sodas or waters or, like you said, croissants and maybe a candy bar, something like that. Maybe some yogurt if we wanted to have. There were a couple of hotels we stayed at that didn't offer a free breakfast. They offered a breakfast, but maybe it was a little more than we wanted to spend. We kind of have a cap on like $20 for a meal is a little spendy for us when we're traveling, so we try to go a little cheaper than that. So yeah, that saved us a lot of money, is going to the little stores and markets and buying snacks to keep in the room. Yeah, so that's how we saved some money on that kind of stuff. We also want to touch a little bit on traveling. We didn't really want to, I'll let you talk about this more, we didn't want to rent a car because...
Yeah. Well, so you got to get around, right? So once you get there, you've got to get around. So what are your options? Well, there's public transportation. There's taxis and rideshare programs, and or we weren't particularly excited about renting a car. I've driven a lot of places in the United States. I've never driven overseas. Wasn't real excited about that.
Yeah. We can't
So,
read the street signs.
and the street sign, I mean, even if you have GPS, the street signs, it just wasn't another thing I wanted to add to my
Learning curve.
for this trip. So we decided to, when speaking with our grandson and his wife that lived there, we decided to try public transportation for the most part. So metros, trains, mostly trains, and walking. It's a lot of things are very accessible, easy to walk to, and we're people of a certain age. We're no spring chickens anymore, so we would walk to a destination, for example, and then we would get an Uber back to the hotel.
Yeah. Well, especially because we would walk to like the Louvre or a museum in Brussels or something like that, and by the time you walk there, which is a beautiful way to see everything, is just walking to your destination. And then we would walk around the museum. We didn't want to walk back to the hotel, so it's pretty cheap and easy to.
And being it was that time of year where it got dark a little earlier, we were a little reluctant we weren't completely confident as where we were at. So we instead of walking and not feeling as comfortable as we could, especially from just walking back, we would do Uber. Now the reason I mentioned Uber is there are some rideshare that are not available in Europe. So we did some research and confirmed that Uber was available, and it was very reasonable. I mean, we took 20, 30, 40-minute taxi ride or Uber rides that were, $13, $15. I was shocked how easy it was, and there's, because it's a big populous area, there's a lot of opportunities for pickups. There's lots of drivers, so you'd never wait. I think the most we waited was 10 minutes for one.
Yeah, and I think that was because we were a little unsure of the pickup point.
And so was the driver. So I would say that if you rent a car, and I didn't even check the rates, but I know domestically anything north of $60 to $100 is about what you're going to pay, if not more,
per day.
And you've got to return it to where you picked it up, which sometimes
and you've got to
can be a
pay
challenge.
for parking. Sometimes at the hotels you pay for parking. You've got to find a place to park.
You got to know how to drive, and I can tell you that some
not just the hotel parking. You have to pay to park in some cities too. Like there's not a lot of free parking in Europe, so we didn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, I didn't want the expense. I didn't want the hassle of trying to navigate a completely new area plus drive in it. Maybe down the road that's something that we would look at. But I can tell you that walking, the trains, the subway / metro, the buses, Uber is very reasonable and easy. It's really nice to just plop down on a train after you've been walking around and just ride a train for 2 hours, leisurely ride a train home to your hotel. It's very
and beautiful
pleasant.
scenery too. We've posted some train videos of some of the scenery that you can check out too. So it's a great way to see the countryside that you're not, intimately walking around. You can just see it as you drive by. And even the Uber rides were a fun way to look at the city, especially like in Paris, because none of the Ubers would take the same route to get us back to where we wanted to go. So it was fun to be like, oh, that's a pretty building. So that's our tips and tricks about how to save a little money when you want to go travel. So we hope you enjoyed that. Again, like us, like our video, and subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification so you can see the next video when it comes around.